Hello, Miss Rosalind. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm well. Hello. How are you doing, Queen?
Good. Or Angel, as they call you for short. You know, I could never forget that name.
Yeah, that's my nickname.
Have you had a good day today?
It was an amazing day. How about yourself?
I had a great day. I had an awesome day. Let's get started. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining the Queendom Business Podcast. Today I have with me Miss Rosalind Stokes, also known as Angel. And she's going to share with us a few of the initiatives that she is working on. Next month, October, is the Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And many of you guys know my story of how I lost my best friend to domestic violence and how I've been an advocate for all things concerning the topic for the month of October and throughout my endeavors in life. That's how Queendom Business got started, was in memory of my best friend. And the book that I've just recently released, Lessons from an Angel, about my best friend. Although the book is not about domestic violence, it's about our friendship and how she helped me to find my purpose in life. And my purpose in life is to advocate for people who cannot advocate for themselves. So Miss Rosalind is the founder of Wow, That's It Detailing Spray. And she has an event coming up in October, on October 7th. So I want her to share more about this event that's coming up and how we can help and how we can support her event that's coming up here in the DMV area. Hi, Miss Rosalind. How you doing?
Hello. How's everybody doing? I'm so honored to be on this podcast this evening. I'd love to tell you a little bit about our event that's coming up. Like you said, it's Saturday, October the 7th at Weingarner Chevrolet in Fort Washington, Maryland. Now, my company, we're a part of the car, truck, and bike community. We make detailing supplies. So we reached out to our community and said, hey, you guys, how can we help the domestic violence cause? So what we decided to do is we're going to have cars, trucks, bikes, motorcycles, some cool stuff for people to come look at the same, but come for an honorable purpose.
Because we love a car show.
I know, cars. Yeah, I love them too. So it's going to be that Saturday from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. The spectators come for free, but anybody who wants to show their vehicle, it's $25 in advance and it's $30 at the gate. Every penny that we raise from this benefit goes to two different domestic violence organizations. The first one is Sisters for Sisters Network Incorporated. They're a Prince George's County group of amazing females who are doing amazing things in our community. The second half of the money is going to get split in half. It goes to the Sexual Assault and Domestic Violence Center at UMM Hospital in Largo, Maryland. So we're going to split the check in half. We actually started raising money a year ago. So the money that was raised up until that time, and then the money that we collect there, we're going to have some awesome giveaways, some really cool giveaways, like really nice cameras. There's an electric scooter. So these are giveaways for people, door prizes. So we've had a lot of great donations that were poured into this benefit to support us.
Nice. Thank you for that. So how did you guys pick the two organizations that you guys decided to donate to?
Well, one of my mentors, he turned me on to Sisters for Sisters Network Incorporated. They actually have a domestic violence leg. They also do, they have a health and wellness section, domestic violence, and then they have scholarships that they give. So I'm a domestic violence, I don't say survivor, I say thriver. So I'm a survivor, a thriver. So I really connected with that organization because I love the fact that they have a program where, say you have a restraining order, and the person actually took the step to get a restraining order. Then you go to this leg of the race and they'll put them up in a hotel. Their kids, they'll feed them. They'll take on the cost for the next 3 days to get them to the next step. So that's where this money is going. This money is going to the grassroots of things.
That's amazing. And I heard you say earlier that you guys have been raising money since last year, because that's how I met you, was last year when you were planning the event and it got rained out on both days.
Yes.
Oh,
I didn't mean to cut you off. But so what happened? It got canceled because of that Florida weather that came through. But the money, we actually ended up raising $3,050, and the event didn't even occur. Yeah. The people who donated, they said, I sent everybody an email, phone calls. Hey, the event's canceled. What do you want me to do? Refund you? Move it to next year? They said, no, give it to the cause now.
That's amazing.
So we already gave that money last year to Sisters for Sisters Network Incorporated. Okay. This year we said, okay, we're going to do things throughout the year to raise money. So we've done at car meetups and car shows, we've done 50/50s. We've done, anytime someone made a purchase at my store, I'll ask them, hey, would you like to donate $2? Nice. To domestic violence. Nice. And we have a big oversized check where anybody who donated even a dime, they got to sign it. So at the benefit itself, they're going to see their signature on the check as it's presented to because both organizations will be there. Okay.
That's very nice. So you guys are going to be doing raffles. I will also be donating a book to the raffle and a little Queendom Business goodie package to the raffle as well.
Thank you.
I look forward to this event. So, circling back to the domestic violence, you said that you were a survivor. Can you share with us a little bit of your experience and how you were able to overcome that?
Absolutely. Oh, I'm 57 years old now.
You look good.
13, thank you. I'm trying real hard. 13 years ago, I figured out that I was allowed to say, you're not allowed to hit me anymore. You're not allowed to curse me out anymore. Now I have a list. You can't curse me out. You can't hit me. You can't raise your voice at me anymore. Now, I experienced domestic violence from childhood up until that point in one form or another. From my father from my father, other family members. At 14, I've always loved cleaning vehicles. That's my thing. That's how I got into the detailing product business. But I was 14 years old and I worked at a car dealership. I was outside washing a car and the manager called me inside to his office. I went inside. Well, he raped me on this desk. In the middle of the rape, his phone rang. He actually answered the phone. I was having an out-of-body experience. So I wasn't down there. I was up here looking at what was happening to me. So while he's distracted, I slid off the table and I went right back outside and continued washing that car. Now, I didn't go back to work the next day. And my mother never really asked me, I love that job. Why didn't I want to go back? She never asked me. But we did have that discussion when I turned 20, like 23, 24. I told her what happened. And I have a son. My son actually, I told him what happened too. So he was a teenager at the time. And I went on a hunt to find this man because I figured he did it too smoothly for that to be his first rape. So I said, okay, now I have the courage to find you and stop you from doing this again to somebody else. So I did try to find him, but I wasn't successful. So I did try to reach out and help other people who went through similar experiences that I went through life. But 13 years ago, I stood up for myself. So even now today, if anybody yells at me, it doesn't matter who you are. You're not allowed to do that. Yeah. And those words are corny, but they're powerful.
That's true. Not corny at all.
And it catches the person off guard because
people think it's normal, but it could be triggering to certain people.
Yes.
Yelling is very triggering to me as well, and it just takes me to another place that I don't want to be in.
Yeah. So I know that probably some of the folks who listen to you and who are part of your podcast family, some must probably be have experienced some domestic violence one way or the other. But for the last 2 years, we've been on this crusade. And we've been traveling all over the country selling our product. When we mentioned this, I've had people ask me, why did you decide to choose this cause to give money to? And I share my story. And then they start sharing their stories.
Yes.
All I can say is we have to create more aha moments for the abusers, for the people who are doing the abusing, and for the people who are taking the abuse.
Yes.
You're not allowed to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
I noticed a lot of time in dealing with any form of abuse, the people who are receiving it, they don't really recognize that they're in an abusive relationship because certain things are, it could be verbal abuse. And they're like, oh, well, they're not putting their hands on me. But if they're speaking to you any type of way or yelling at you or calling you out your name, all types of those things are literally forms of abuse that many people endure that they don't necessarily recognize as being abuse.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was in a 7-year relationship with verbal abuse. And I lost it one day. So I lost it. I threw the computer, put a hole in the wall, and I fought her. I never put my hands on anybody before in my life, but we fought that day. We ended up going to counseling, and the counselor said to me, now, Rosalind, if you could do things differently, what would you do?
Right.
And I looked at the counselor, and then I looked at my girlfriend, and I said, I would have whooped her behind earlier. Because what you don't and I don't promote violence, but what you don't, I had to tell both of them, what you don't understand is although she didn't hit me, she cut me with her words regularly. I was bleeding regularly. It just wasn't from a knife. So the counselor,
and sometimes words are far more painful than physical.
Much more, much. Being told that you're stupid, being told that you look, and I'm easy on the eyes. I was told I was ugly, so you start to believe that stuff. So something else that I learned that I hope to spread to, what's the number one cause of stress in any one person's life, no matter how old you are, what color you are, where you're from? What's the number one thing that's caused you stress in the last 30 days? And it's only one word. And if anybody can type that word in there, I have $100 cash for you. Now, do I have your attention?
Yep.
Did anybody type it in? It's only one word.
The
I usually make people
one cause of stress. Is that what you said?
What has caused you stress in the last 30 days? And it's only one word. Your choices. Watch your choices. It's either you're choosing to go left and you should have gone right. You chose to allow the person to curse you out. And then some other people have told me, well, no, you're wrong, Angel, because say I get a diagnosis of cancer and I get depressed. Well, you're choosing your response to the diagnosis. Right. So we have to watch our choices. I chose to be with that person for 7 years. I chose to let somebody beat me for 8 years. But now I'm making different choices.
Right. You're being proactive.
Being very,
you were able to take your power back. So do you have like any steps that helped you to be able to finally take your power back and control your own life choices?
I was talking to a girlfriend of mine. I was in a motorcycle club, and we were outside of the a motorcycle shop, and we were just talking. And I shared with her, I said, I really don't want to go home. And she said, why not? I said, because it's getting dark. I'm going to get cursed out because it's dark now. And I don't feel like being hit today. I'm just not in the mood. She said, Angel, when you're tired of being tired, you're going to put a stop to this.
That's the truth.
When we ended that conversation, I had about a 35-minute ride home. And all I can hear her was, when you're tired of being tired. I grew up watching my mom be whipped, watching my father was a monster. So I was used to this. I became used to this behavior. But when I got home that day, I said, okay, I'm going to make a different decision. I'm tired of being tired. I'm ready to be happy now. Mm-hmm. So I put steps in. I went to the courthouse the next day. I called out for work, went to the courthouse the next day, and I told the lady, I said, this is what I've been dealing with. How do I get out of this? And she said, well, first of all, give me the person's name. Sorry. First of all, give me the person's name. So she actually keyed in her name in the computer. And she looked at the screen twice. She said, did you background check this woman before you started dating her? I said, no, ma'am, why? She turned the screen around. She said, you're the 8th restraining order.
Wow.
The 8th.
Wow.
So I said, whatever you tell me to do, that's what I'm going to do. Just tell me what to do. She told me, you have a place to go safely and be out of the house? I said, yes. She said, okay, where are you going? I said, to my son's house. Okay, pack a bag, go to your son's house. We're going to file these papers. And there was a paperwork that says you have to leave the house. I forget what this called, but I guess a stay away order or something. So I went to stay at my son's house. And by then the sheriffs had gone to the house, knocked on the door, told her she had to pack a bag and leave. And then I went back to the house in 3 days, and we ended up going to court. Oh, and she also told me, don't answer her phone calls. Don't respond to any texts. If you're serious about what you want to do, you have to follow my lead. I said, I'm going to do everything you tell me to do and more. So I did everything she told me to do, and I never looked back. I never looked back. Never look back.
Good. I just overheard someone telling someone today at work, when you sick and tired of being sick and tired, you will take those steps. Because you can talk about it all day, but a lot of times when people are in that situation, it's hard for them to at least take the first step.
But you have to love yourself more than you love that person.
Yep.
And then if you're used to being abused, like I said, it was been since I was a kid, a baby, a kid. So I was used to that. But you get that useful spirit off of you. Right. When you're tired of being tired, you're allowed to step up, and you're allowed to say you're not allowed to do that anymore.
Yep. Choosing yourself first. And I'm in a journey right now where I'm choosing myself first above all else, family, friends, and everything. Because once you choose yourself first, it's okay to say no to other people and not feel bad. Because when you're saying yes to them, sometimes you're saying no to yourself.
Absolutely.
So choosing yourself and loving yourself first is literally the number one. Midnight Menace says he's proud of you, Miss Angel, for opening up.
Well, thank you, Midnight Menace.
Does anybody else have any questions out there that they want to ask? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I didn't say.
Oh, okay.
No, you're good.
Yes.
So
go ahead.
So nobody out there has any questions.
Midnight Menace says he's little Kevin. I'm guessing you know him.
Oh, really?
Probably one of your followers. Hey, Kevin.
So
I've read in, I was just reading on the domestic violence hotline, I think, that 1 in 4 people experience.
1 in 4 men.
Men, yes. And is it 1 in 3 women?
1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men experience violence by a domestic partner.
Yes. And that's quite a lot. That's a very large percentage, especially if you're in a room full of 10 people, at least 3 people in there that experience it. So we got 4 people on the line. 1 person has experienced it. That's just a wow factor, because those are the people who reported it. And we know there's so many people who have not reported it. So the percentage could be far more higher than what it's reported.
I have met so many men that have opened up to me in the last 2 years of this journey. I, in fact, interviewed the president of I did some interviews for Facebook, and the stories that I've what men have been through as boys, what priests or nuns. I was used to hearing priests. I wasn't used to hearing nuns. Mm-hmm. So everybody, you watch everybody, and if you have kids, watch everybody. Mm-hmm. Watch everybody. But we are going to create some aha moments on October 7th. We're going to do some different demonstrations to really open up people's eyes, because there's going to be folks there who are abusers. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There are going to be people there who are being actively abused. Mm-hmm. There are going to be people there who have not dealt with their scars. So we are going to do a really cool example, and then just have people look around and like, yeah, this is real. This is real.
Yeah.
And we have to stop damaging each other.
Yes.
We have to stop damaging each other.
And that saying, hurt people is like the most true saying I've ever heard, because I notice a lot of people who don't even realize they are the abusers are broken themselves. Like I told somebody once, like, this is abuse. Like, you're not going to talk to me like that. And they were appalled, like appalled that I said that. And they were like, I didn't put my hands on her, and I didn't do this and I didn't do that. But I was like, nah, that's not appropriate. That's not appropriate at all. But they have their own demons that they're dealing with that they have to work through as well. And a lot of people don't know that. They don't know that basic things are forms of abuse. And they're triggers, and they can escalate. They're domino effect. They can escalate up to bigger things, to worse things, to more tragic things. Yes. Everything's a domino effect.
My niece was killed by her husband. He stabbed her to death in front of their 2-year-old child in Manassas, Virginia. We've had violence throughout my family my whole life. It was just like, you thought that was normal. It's not normal. And it's not. There are rules to arguing. You're not allowed to curse at a person. You're not allowed to put your hands on them. You're not allowed. There are rules. And if the person won't follow the rules, then they're not for you.
Right. Agree.
I was talking to a young lady last night who I've had this conversation with her over and over. And then last night we're still having the same conversation. And I said, well, I'm on the phone with you now, but if I get in my car and drive to your house and pop you upside your head, you're still not you're not listening to me. I don't know if you're hearing, I don't know what you're doing, but if a person is telling you that you're worthless, they're abusing you. Yeah. If a person is telling you you're fat, they're abusing you. So when you going to be tired and say, I had enough? Right. And she said, I don't know. I said, okay, well, you can call me back when you do, because I'm in your corner, but I'm not going to stand by and let you allow someone to abuse you and not say something.
Yep. I agree.
So I agree. We have to stand up for each other, to each other. And even if the person who's doing the abusing is your son or your daughter, you need to stand up to them too.
Yep. Yes, I totally agree. And I think a lot of parents try to stay out of their kid situations. But I think it's funny that you say that, because that's the one right there. Because I know a lot of people who, like, I have a few friends who were in abusive relationships. And I'm like, I had a friend, she was actually living with her husband who was abusing her, and the mom was living there. And I'm like, what did she say about all this? But she was scared of her son too. So she didn't say anything about it. And it just always makes me wonder how a mom could sit by and let her son treat somebody like that. But they just don't want to be involved. And I think that's a whole bracket of people who are missed, with the parents not saying something to their children, behaving the way they see them visually behaving.
And it's hard. It's hard. I understand. It's because it's real hard. It's real hard. Like, my son has a temper, and I've had to check him. I've had to tell him, you're not allowed to talk to me like that. And you're not allowed. Yeah, it sounds corny, but it's powerful.
It's not corny at all. It's boundaries.
Yeah, yes, you set boundaries.
I set boundaries.
There you go. So,
and you make people respect your boundaries.
Yes. either you respect it or you get out. It's up to you. But I control my stress. I control who's allowed to come in, who's not allowed to come in. But that's all of us. That's everybody who's on your line, everybody who follows you. I commend you, Queen. I remember the day I met you.
Yes,
I was passing out the flyers and you came up to me and you was like, hey, wait a minute, I want to talk to you. And when you told me that, I talked about you driving home. I talked about you to other people. Hey, I met this queen. She's doing this, she's doing that. And I admire you. I thank you, for doing what you're doing. It's powerful. It's powerful. It's powerful. So all of us need to reach somebody. In fact, one of the interviews that I was doing for the club for Facebook for this event, the gentleman told me, he said, you know, when I left my house to meet you tonight, that was last Thursday's interview. He said his neighbor, they were arguing. They just had a newborn baby. And the lady comes out and she heard her husband threaten her. And he's like, I didn't know what to do. And he grew up with an abusive father. So the Sexual Assault Center and Domestic Violence Center at United in Largo, the hospital, they have these cards things, and we'll have some at the event. I keep them in my purse. I keep them in my briefcase. I gave him a couple of those. I said, when you see her by herself, just hand her the card. It gives you a list of resources. Don't have a conversation, because that's another thing. You get involved and things happen. No, but you just give her the card. There's nothing written on it with your name on it. Just give it to her. Those are resources that she can go to get out of that.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I
like that.
Yeah. And it's not just him abusing her. It could be her abusing him too. Like when my niece was killed, he stabbed her to death. When he did that, they were both toxic. So she was unmedicated bipolar. He was unmedicated bipolar. So I talked to her about choices. I talked to her about, this is not healthy what you're going through. And this is what happened. So now her mom is raising her child and he's in jail. But it doesn't have to go that far.
Right.
If we all just pitch in. Just pitch in a little bit. Just pitch in a little bit. Little bit.
I like the card idea because I always think about a lot of times in our culture, well, I've had neighbors that I could hear fighting through the walls. In our culture, we mind our business. Like that don't got nothing to do with me. I ain't calling the police. I ain't doing nothing. But when it happened to my best friend and she was arguing with her boyfriend, somebody actually called the police. And by the time the police got there, he had shot her. He shot her 6 times, but the police wouldn't have been able to find her in time if that person wouldn't have called the police when they did. And I always think about it like, oh, dang, I wish she would have called earlier or whatnot. But now I always take that with me. And I no longer have that mentality that it ain't my business. I'll call, but I'm not going to tell the police. You know, the police, don't let them know I called, but I'm still going to call. And, you know, sometimes people get mad when you call because it might not even be that serious. But you never know. Like, my best friend lost her life, but somebody called and then she was able to be picked up in the bushes or wherever she was. She was able to be found, but she wouldn't have been able to be found if someone hadn't called the police and the police weren't already on the premises when she got shot. So I always say, like, I know it's not our business, but you have a due diligence if you see something to at least, you know, the card is a nice gesture where you just hand it off and keep it moving. Like, you don't have to have a conversation. You don't have to do none of that. Or even if you choose to call the police, because like some arguments are just regular arguments, but you never know when that may be their last argument or something may spiral out of control. And if you do call the police and they do get mad, you need to let them know, like, you know, like maybe you should think about the people who are around you when you're arguing.
There you go.
Think about how you're having this different altercation and how it's affecting those around you, because it's not just about you, especially when you live in apartments or whatever. Like, maybe you need to reevaluate how you decide to have your disagreements because it's not appropriate.
No, absolutely. When I had a conversation with my cousin, he's the oldest cousin. He was in a Marine. He was a Marine. He was the only male in our family who we deemed a good man. Everybody else, well, they're not so good. So I asked him as an adult, I said to him, did you know my father was a monster? And he said, yes, we knew. Did you know he was beating on my mother? Did you know he was raping my brother, raping my sister, coming at me? He was like, well, we didn't know what was going on, but we knew he was abusive. I said, well, why didn't you do something about it? So now you have all of us walking around wounded when you could have said something. You could have done something. He said, well, it was none of our business. I said, but aren't I your cousin? Doesn't that make it your business? He didn't know what to say to that. And he's a deacon. So you know I put that in there. You know I said, and deacon, what did you do about it? You did nothing. So we all have a responsibility. If we think a child's being hurt, if we think someone's being hurt, you may not have to get like physically involved because that's dangerous too.
Very.
But there's a phone. You got phones. Yeah. You can make a phone call. You can give a pamphlet. And that's all I ask, for people to have an aha moment. The abusers, we're actually going to have a man who's going to come speak. He's the owner of Hogwash Detailing Company. Nice. He's like a well-known detailer across the DMV that people wait to get their motorcycles detailed by him. He was a victim. And he's going to come and speak from a male perspective.
That'll be great. That'll be.
It's just we all need to step in.
Yeah.
We all need to step up.
Yeah. And I think we all need to take a look at ourselves.
Yes.
And like you said earlier, our toxic behaviors, our verbally abusive behaviors, the things that we can stop so that it doesn't escalate, because it can be two people who are both toxic. It can be two people who are doing this back and forth. It's sometimes not always one person. It could be both of them, but it's always one person who gets their life taken first, or who becomes the victim first. But it can also be two people playing the same role. So I think that's something. And then, especially with my generation, they think toxic is cute. They think the yelling, the arguing, the going back and forth is cute. And I will admit, when I was younger, I never was that person, but I used to see it and I just be like, oh, they just crazy for each other. They're crazy in love. But after my best friend lost her life behind that, I'm like, that's not cute no more. Like, it's not cute no more to be toxic. It's not cute no more to be arguing and fussing and hollering at each other in the streets or in the store. Like, that stuff is not cute. So I think it's a look at self too.
Do they really think it's, because now you're educating me, do they really think it's cute, or is it that they were raised in an abusive environment and that's what they're used to? Because I've never talked to anybody that I would love to interview them to say, why do you do that? But is it that they're used to it?
I do understand some people think it's normal because they grew up in that environment, but a lot of people glorify that. They think that means they're crazy in love about you, that they really love you. That's why he wants to argue with me. That's why he cares. He cares. That's why he's doing this. That's why he's controlling, because he loves me. Like, that's just the mindset that a lot of people of this generation have. And there are celebrities who, young celebrities, who are Christiana Blueface. I don't know if you know who they are, but they are constantly in the streets fist fighting each other, and everyone just looks and flocks to it and gives them the energy to continue that type of behavior because people seem to glorify it. And I noticed that people laugh at it, or they say, oh, she's just crazy in love, or, you know, there's just so many different misconceptions of it, but it like scares me. Like, it literally bothers me. Like, I know her. Like, I wish she would get out of that relationship. And there have been times where I look at both of them and I'm like, it's the both of them. But you only respond to what you're given. So if one person starts it, then you have no choice but to continue it, because you have to stand up for yourself. And that's where I think a lot of times it becomes toxicity on both sides, because you're just responding to what's given to you.
But you can stand up for yourself by walking away.
Yes. You can.
By walking away. That's how you stand up for yourself. Yep. Not get into a shouting match, not get into who can curse better, me or you, not get into any of physical. It's just not, it's not tolerated. I am now, so to end this with a positive note, I am now with my soulmate for 13 years. 13 years. And in the 13 years, we might have had 2 arguments.
Wow.
And the arguments were, I think one cuss word was made. And when the cuss word was made, everything shut down in the house. Everything shut down. I was like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. You're not allowed to say a cuss word. Even though the cuss word wasn't like a B word at you, it was like the S word, like shit. Oh, you said shit? Oh, it's already, we can't have this. But I'm just saying it to say, once you're with, like you said, some people think, oh, that's love, that's love. Once you're with your soulmate, all of that's not necessary. It's not even welcome.
Yeah.
It's not even welcome.
Definitely. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. That's been very insightful to the both of us.
Well, yeah. I learned a few things too.
So we look forward to the car and bike meetup next Saturday, October 7th at, where's it at? The
behind Weingartner Chevrolet off of 210.
Weingartner Chevrolet
off
here
of 210.
in Fort Washington, Maryland. If you're in the DMV, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, feel free to come out. I will be there. I will have my books. We will just be there to have a good time. Angel, thank you so much for coming. Did you want to share anything else?
Well, one last thing. Anybody who's on the line, if you when you do come and introduce yourself to me, and I'm gonna give you a free bottle of detail spray.
Oh, that's nice. Yep. So we'll see who was on the line and who was paying attention tonight.
Yeah, just free.
Free 99.
Yes.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Queendom Business Transformation Tuesday podcast. I hope you were transformed tonight and something we said will stick with you throughout your week. Thank you guys for joining, and I will see you guys next time.
All right. Thank you, Queen. Keep doing what you're doing, sis.
Right. If I can reach one person, that's
you
all
did.
I did
You
my
did.
job.
No. You reached more than one. You're doing an amazing job. You keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.